In this video, we are going to talk about the most powerful tool that I've ever experienced personally, and we teach all the time to help you manage and dissolve and control your emotions, especially the suppressed emotions that we as humans generally don't do a really good job of managing. And I know several of you that are going to watch this video either live or on replay. You've used this tool. Some of you know how to actually coach with this tool. And so I'd love to hear your experience with it. You can go ahead and just comment. So the tool is called the Total Truth Letter. It is, I mean, as the title suggests, it's about the total truth, not just being truthful, but addressing the entirety of the truth from an emotional standpoint, right? And it's a tool that I learned in 2005. I first experienced it, and I started to address a lot of my own repressed emotions. And specifically back then, it was focused on my relationship with my mother, which was not a good one when we grew up. And it was almost entirely my fault, my resentment, my projection, all of the things that, that I was doing on an emotional level, and all of the distance that I was creating. And so this tool completely shifted my awareness of how emotions work, and then my connection with myself, and eventually was a major factor in me healing that relationship with my mother before she died. So it's a very sacred tool for me because it was so important in my life. The Total Truth Letter is chapter something from my book, chapter 14, I think. Chapter 14, the Total Truth Letter. In this released book, Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? It's all about the father-daughter relationship from what I've learned coaching women for close to 2 decades now. And it's really a father's guide for what our daughters need to know, see, and hear from us to protect their self-esteem and have high self-confidence and all the things that we want for them. But it's also a book that has proved to be really healing for a lot of women that are reading it, because it's breaking down just the father-daughter relationship in general. It's not just applied or applicable one way from fathers to daughters, although that's the context that it is that it's put in. So you can check that out at coachshawnSmith.com/daddy. We'll put a link around here wherever this video is as well. So the Total Truth Letter, it's based on a framework of emotions that, in my opinion, experience, I've been in this world for 18 plus years, this whole world of personal development. It's the most potent tool to manage emotions. It's the one that we assign the most to our clients as a coaching company. And it's been the most profound for me, not just the tool, but the understanding of this framework. So the framework it's like a 6-story building. And the idea is that all of the stories rely on and build upon the ones before it, just like a building, right? You can't build the 4th floor of a building unless you've got floors 1 through 3. So our emotions work in a similar way to that, where if you have a certain emotion that's on floor 5, the other 4 emotions have to be there as well. And it gives us a lot of dissectionability, the ability to dissect, when we understand how this works. So from the bottom up, the floor, the foundation is love. On top of love sits desire. Those two are the main emotions that I think we are born with and we live with for the earliest phases of our lives. And then we learn the top 4. In my opinion, those top 4 are stacked upon these natural 2. Now, I'm not saying the other emotions are not natural. Yeah, they're natural, but they're learned natural, right? So I don't think, when a child is 8 months old, they have anger, because I don't think they've built the the other emotions to even create that's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. When do we as humans actually form anger? Because early on in our lives, we cry and we might do things that we are, that look like we're mad, but those emotions at the earliest phase of our lives are really just tools to get what we want, right? If you've ever seen a child cry or throw a tantrum and then get the toy that they're crying about and how quickly that tantrum just goes away, it's amazing. So it's just a thought that I've never really contemplated before. Like, when do we actually feel anger, or when do we feel these other emotions? So let me get back to these to the six emotions. The bottom one, love. On top of that is desire. On top of that is regret. On top of that is fear. On top of that is pain. And then on top of that is anger. So those are the six layers of human emotion. Now, I know there's other frameworks that show a bunch of different emotions, and all of them are useful to a degree. I've never been let down with these six layers, meaning I've never thought this isn't sufficient enough. There's another emotion that isn't addressed here, and I wish it was in this. So it's as complete as necessary for the work that we've always done. And the more that you add, the more complication there is, right? So this is the most simple and efficient tool that I've ever seen based on this framework. So to repeat what I said earlier, if you have anger in your body, which is the floor six emotion in this framework, then all the other five are underneath it. So right under anger sits pain. Right under pain sits fear, and then regret, and then desire, and then love. So what does that mean? If you're angry about something, you actually love some element of that situation. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to produce anger. And if you're angry about something, there's fear underneath there. There's pain, right? So it's really helpful to understand the ingredients of the recipe that would eventually create anger, because that's how we can dissect. So this tool called the Total Truth Letter is where you isolate each one of these emotions and you just simply express them. If you're going to do it as a letter, you write your first paragraph all on anger, and that's it. Only anger. You isolate anger. If any other thoughts come to you, put them aside. You're going to get to them, right? But you just write nothing but anger in the beginning, and you let it like entirely go. Don't try to filter it. Don't try to protect whoever it is you're writing this letter to. Most of the time, we invite our clients to write the letters to a parent, because most of us have parental issues. We have parental trauma. We have parental resentment. And it's almost impossible for a human child to not have anger and pain and fear and all that stuff toward a parent, because the relationship is just so instrumental and influential, right? And if it's not your biological parent, it's somebody that probably played a parental figure. And it could be somebody that wasn't present in your life. But that's usually where we start. Sometimes some other relationship is presenting as more important, and then we'll go there. But the idea is you write this letter to the person knowing they'll never read it. This is not for them to read, it's for you to write. It's designed to get the emotions out. It's not designed for somebody to then read it and then for you to have a conversation about it. That's not the point. And because of that, don't filter it in any way. If your emotion wants to swear, then swear. If you got one 3-page long run-on sentence, awesome. This is not getting graded for grammar. Just express in an unfiltered way so that the anger in your body comes out of your body. And writing it, and I suggest you write it longhand, like with a pen or a pencil and paper. Don't use the keyboards and type it, because writing it actually is more of a clearer, cleaner, purer emotional expression than the keyboards. And like literally, you kind of feel it sometimes, like the emotions taking hold of your arm and actually writing it. So that's my suggestion. It works better in my opinion and experience. And so you just write everything you can until the anger doesn't have a voice anymore. And that could be a couple minutes, could be 10 minutes, could be 20 minutes. It doesn't matter how long it is. Don't try to condense this. If, I mean, think about it. If this is emotion that's been controlling you for 30 years, is it a problem if it takes 30 minutes to write? Would it be a problem if it took 3 days? It never will, but would that be okay even if it did? So we tend to try to condense our solutions in ways that are irrational if you think about it, right? So allow it to take as long as it takes because this stuff has to come out because it's controlling you. And then once you're done with once you're done with anger, then the next level is pain. And then you write a whole paragraph, however long it takes, on pain. What is hurting you or what did hurt you in the past? Underneath that, once you're done with that, then you write fear. What are you afraid of? What were you afraid of in the past? So throughout this whole process, you're speaking to anything that's present currently, but also anything that was present in the past. So it can be in the past tense or the current tense. And it could be in the present tense as well, especially for the lower emotions. Underneath that is regret. And this is a really important opportunity for you to own anything that you can regret. When I first wrote the letter to my mom, when I got to this phase, I was able to recognize that I actually regret the way I behaved, what I did, what I didn't do in my relationship with her. But while I was still stuck in all of my anger, I would have never said that because I didn't have access to that while these other 3 layers were in between, right? So when we're stuck up here at the higher level of anger, we don't have access to these lower levels because we're looking down through these emotions. And it's kind of like if you have 6 blankets, like big, thick blankets sitting on top of each other, and you're looking down, you only see the top one. You got to remove the top one before you see the one below it. Then you have to remove that one before you see the one below that. That's kind of how these emotional layers work. So I didn't even have the ability to or willingness to address my regret while under the control of these other 3 emotions. That's part of the power of this work. So that's the 4th layer, working top down. That's regret. And then the one beneath that, now you've entered those bottom 2 layers that I said is more of the natural human state. And so you might notice that your energy really shifts, and then you can get to what it is that you want. What did you want in the past? What do you want now? And now what do you want in the future? This is where the future pacing is more powerful or more relevant, I'd say, or applicable. And then once you're done with all the things that you want, now you step into love and appreciation. And you can love and appreciate the person. You can love and appreciate the lessons. You can love and appreciate the situation. But it's really critical for you to recognize that underneath all of this is love and appreciation. Because if there wasn't, you wouldn't have been able to rile yourself up all the way to anger. That's why this framework has been so profound, is because we recognize all the different elements that are underneath it, that are in the recipe, the ingredients, and then we go get them. And then we go express them. And a lot of times, all you need to do is express these emotions. You don't even have to have a conversation with the person that you're writing the letter to. Most people don't. Most people never send the letter. A few people have that I know of, but that's not the point. The point is to express the emotions. What we want to be as humans is emotionally expressed. We want to get our emotions out in a safe way, not in a way that hurts other people, but also we don't want to keep it in a way that hurts us, because that's the way that most of us are taught. We're taught to avoid rather than express. And this tool is the best tool that I've seen in a really clear, clean, simple process. That might not be emotionally easy. It's not fun emotionally to dive into our anger or our pain or our fear. That's not fun, but it is simple. Meaning right now, just talk about this, and then just talk about this, and then just talk about this. So it's a very simple way, and it's worth it. And it's not magic. Just doing the letter one time doesn't mean that you're never going to feel anger. That's not even the point. The point is not to ever feel these emotions ever again. The point is just be able to express them when you do feel them. I mean, think about it. If any of you have like I was for the longest time up until I started working with this particular framework, which I learned. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I learned from Jack Canfield in one of his seminars way back when in 2005. I was carrying around up until that time so much repressed and suppressed and unresolved anger. A lot of it was at my mom, a lot of it was at myself, a lot of it was at my athletic career that didn't go the way I wanted it to. A lot of it was at the world, it's not fair. Like I was holding on to so much stuff. And imagine if you are like me or anybody you know is like that and you're holding in all of these things. Imagine how difficult it is to react to a situation appropriately. There's nothing wrong with reacting to a situation appropriately so that the proportional amount of anger shows up. But what is a problem is when we react to situations disproportionately. So a small amount of anger is actually justified for whatever happened, but you meet the moment with 10 times the amount of justifiable response. And that's what happens when we just hold on to all of our emotions. So hopefully this tool is something that you're willing to try. It's a beginning. It's not a magical finish line, but it's the beginning to becoming more emotionally expressed. And especially as men, especially those of us that are parenting our daughters, out of control emotion is severely damaging to their self-esteem, to their self-concept, to their understanding of masculinity, to their understanding of fathering, to their understanding of parenting, to their understanding of themselves, love, right? There's a masculine nurturing protection that we want to shower our kids with, and especially our daughters in the context of this book. And we can't do that when we're an emotional powder keg internally. So that's what this process is going to help you do. I'm going to end here. I don't want to. I want to talk about all the different what if scenarios and all the different possibilities. If you do have questions, disagreements, interactions of any kind, please comment on the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll respond as I can. So hope this lands. Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? It's available. Check it out at coachshansmith.com/daddy or on whatever link you can find near the video here. And I'll talk to you in another video. Take care.
If you like this video, check out the next video in this series where I continue to share various chapters and break down some of the most important concepts from my new book, Daddy, Are You Proud of Me? What Daughters Need to Hear, See, and Know from Their Dads to Have High Self-Esteem and Confidence. But that doesn't increase how you truly feel about yourself. And that's one of the reasons why people can perform really well